With the release of GXK, let's jump into the Monsterverse and rank its projects. Now, before we begin, I want to make it crystal clear, this is just my opinion, nothing official. You can like what you like, and I can like what I like. Feel free to agree or disagree with me, but do it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And also, spoilers ahead if you're not caught up on all of the entries of the Monsterverse. This was really hard to do because I love Godzilla and I love Kong, so it was a real challenge, but let's see how I rank everything. Starting off at the bottom of the list with number 8, we have the Skull Island Netflix animated show. Now, I'll be honest, this one didn't quite hit the mark for me. Sure, the episodes with Kong had their moments, but overall, the animation style just didn't click with me. The dialogue, it felt a bit cringeworthy at times. I struggled to connect with a lot of the characters, and to be honest, I could barely remember what happens to the show, and I watched it not too long ago. I hope you were able to find some enjoyment with this one, though, because it did have some cool ideas for the Monsterverse. It just didn't feel like it connected well with everything else that we've been delivered, though. I was really excited for this one once it was announced. I love anime, I love animation, and Kong with that, and I heard it came from the studio that did Castlevania, so I was hyped. But ultimately, in the end, it just really didn't do it for me, and that's okay. Coming in at number 7, we have all of the Monsterverse comics. I'm combining the Monsterverse comics into one slot, and I know this might be a little bit controversial, but personally, I'm just not a big fan of these comic books. The stories just didn't do it for me, you know? They lack the depth and engagement I usually feel like I get out of the Monsterverse movies and projects, and while there's a lot of cool bits of lore here and there and world building, the overall package of the comics just feels lacking, especially when it comes to the artwork in these comic books. That's where it really doesn't work for me. It's victim to too many traced images, which takes away from the authenticity for me. I don't like to look through a comic book and see a picture of an SH monster or it's Godzilla, or bringing it to Alien and Predator. I just can't do that stuff. It takes me right out of the comic book, and it's really disappointing to me. Plus, the canon is so loose in these comics that I find myself just disregarding them and kind of forgetting about them at times. I understand the comics have a dedicated fan base, and that's totally cool. It's just for me that they don't quite hit the mark. We all have our own tastes and preferences when it comes to the Monsterverse. From this point on, the list gets really, really hard because every entry in the Monsterverse has its strengths and weaknesses. Just because some of these entries are low on this list does not take away from them at all. I love all of these movies. Like, really love. So if it's lower, it's like they're up here, and these last 2 entries were down here. They're like Godzilla-sized love. Coming in at number 6, we have Kong Skull Island. Now, I know this might stir up a little bit of debate because I'm fully aware this is a fan favorite for many, many people. And I'll be the first to admit there is so much to love about this movie. It's beautifully shot, packed with fun action, and delivers some truly insane monster moments. Let's not forget the stellar cast. However, despite its many strengths, I have to be honest about my own feelings. While I appreciate the film's tone, I sometimes find that it's a bit too all over the place. The serious moments are impactful, but then they get overshadowed by the Marvel-esque quippy humor, which just is a bit too jarring for me. And as much as I adore the casting, I admit that I'm not a fan of most of their characters and their choices. Sure, some of the characters bring depth to the story, like Sam Jackson's standout performance, but I couldn't help feeling that some of the characters lack development, like John Goodman's character Randa, who seems to fizzle out just before making a real impact. Luckily, we got a little bit more of him with Monarch. Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston in their roles, they didn't quite hit the mark for me in this one. I really like all of these actors in other movies, just not this one. But the film has Marlowe, played by John C. Reilly, who steals the show and leaves us with a nice little emotional payoff at the film's credits that can't help but bring a tear to my eye.
I'm gonna stab you by the end of the night.
Now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of standout moments in Kong Skull Island. Kong himself steals the show with his epic moments, especially in the iconic scene with the helicopters. That shot where he is in front of that sunset is just incredible. I love it so much. I've even recreated it with my toy photography a little bit in my own style. That is just one of the best, if not the best shot in the Monsterverse. And let's not forget the tease of Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah, and then Godzilla's roar happening at the end. That just was so much fun. Despite my gripes, I can't deny that I love seeing Kong come out on top on this one. His re-entry into the Monsterverse was handled with style, and the creative twists on his character kept things fresh and exciting. At number 5, we have the epic showdown, Godzilla vs. Kong. The rematch of the ages. The build-up to this one was a blast, especially with all the hype going on social media after that first trailer dropped. Let's talk about the action in this movie. It's absolutely awesome. I mean, Adam Wingard really brought something special to the table with his added characterizations of the monsters and those neon-lit vibes. And if you've seen my photography, you know I am a sucker for that aesthetic, and I mean, look around me. Seeing Godzilla and Kong clash again on the big screen was truly a sight to behold. Risking the pandemic and heading to the Chinese theater in Hollywood on opening night was a decision I will never regret. It was worth it for my two favorite giant monsters. And now as for the movie itself, it's a very fun time. Admittedly, it didn't give me exactly what I was expecting after the tone of King of the Monsters, but over time, I've come to appreciate its unique tone. It wastes no time getting to the action, moving a mile a minute to deliver the titular brawl we've all been waiting for. Kaylee Hoddle does so good as Gia, who steals the show and brings an emotional connection to Kong for the audience. The monster action is just right. The choreography and the lighting are spot on, making it feel like a wild roller coaster ride at times, and with some of the camera movements, they literally feel like a roller coaster ride. Godzilla is pure rage and a force of nature, and I love every minute of it. And the introduction to Mechagodzilla was fantastic. It's a team-up I never would have imagined seeing as a kid from the 80s and 90s, besides with my own action figures. Now, if I had any complaints, it would be the Junkie XL score, which is a similar one I have for GXK. It just didn't hit the mark for me here, especially after Bear McCreary's awesome and beautiful Godzilla King of the Monsters score. But overall, I've come to embrace the direction Adam Wingard was taking the franchise. And I was very ready for what was coming up next from him, which is also our next entry on this list. Coming in at number 4, we have the newest and least viewed entry, Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. Now, this might be interchangeable with GVK actually, depending on the mood I'm in. But regardless, GXK is a super fun movie, and I had an absolute blast watching it with a crowd. It's pure entertainment, even if it's not a perfect film. And following -1, it felt like the ultimate dessert after a perfect 5-course meal. The over-the-top monster action was both awesome and hilarious, like that incredible zero-gravity sequence. The Monsterverse movies continue to deliver things I never expect to see in a big-budget kaiju blockbuster, let alone just movies in general, like Scar King taking his whip and throwing the building, or Suko being used as a weapon. That's perfection. I've never not laughed when I've seen that scene. This movie truly delivers what it was set out to do: focus on the monsters and tell their stories. The Titans have so much emotion and character that it's easy to forget that there are humans to go back to at times. Iconic moments like Godzilla, Mothra, and Kong roaring together in Egypt gave me chills. Godzilla Evolved is so cool, and Kong's Beast Glove is awesome, even if it's a bit over the top. And now while the villains could have used a little bit more screen time, both were very memorable, and Shimo quickly became a fan favorite, being such a good puppy. Overall, GXK is an extremely good time, and I can't wait to watch it again and again. Taking the third spot on our list is Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. Monarch was a very cool show. While the present-day cast wasn't exactly my cup of tea, minus a few standout characters like Shaw, Tim, and Duval, the younger portion of the cast could be a bit hard to tolerate at times. My girlfriend and I even joked about taking a shot every time they cried about wanting to go home, or tired of all of this, or hating dad, or I'm just so done with this. We would have been very drunk by the end of every episode, probably. Well, if they were in the episode. And it's not that they're bad actors, it's just that they weren't given the best material to work with. But the rest of the cast from the past, they were all absolutely incredible. The highs of this show outweighed the lows by a long shot. It's far from perfect, which is a really common phrase for the Monsterverse, but I really, really enjoyed it. And those emotional punches in the final episodes, they hit hard and elevated the show to a whole new level for me. The Godzilla and other Titan moments leading up to the final battle with the Ion Dragon were super satisfying and impactful, especially Godzilla's entrance. Kurt and his son Wyatt playing the same character was genius. It was so fun to watch them switch back and forth between time, using them as a transition. Kurt just kills it in everything he's in, and he's just such a pleasure to watch. Mari Yamamoto's performance was fantastic, and she absolutely deserves an award for it. This show proved that the Monsterverse can have great characters alongside the great monster moments, and I sincerely hope we can take what worked with this show and apply it to future projects like the next season and the new spin-off shows they just announced as I was recording this video. I am very much looking forward to what's coming next. In the second spot, we have Godzilla from 2014. Now let me take you back a bit. After Final Wars in 2004, I thought I'd seen the last of the big guy. That iconic shot of him walking into the sunset with Manila felt like it was the end of an era where he was likely gone for good. How naive I was as a young teenager. After 10 quiet years, we finally got to see him return in 2014, setting up this new Monsterverse that we're still talking about today. This movie has jumped up and down my list, but as of my last viewing, it stands very high. I know some folks find Gareth Edwards' cutaways, very frustrating, and I can too at times, but the overall package and tone of this movie are incredible. Build-up of tension to the release during the big final monster fight between Godzilla and the Muto couple is absolutely epic. The visuals and mood are top tier, and it's understandable why people want more of it. Thankfully, Monarch delivers some of that while expanding on the universe. Now, it's frustrating that we lose Bryan Cranston early on. Who doesn't like to dream about what these films would be like if he'd stuck around? The rest of the cast is good in his place, if not a little underwritten.
Daddy's home.
Daddy's home.
Cake every night.
But we were there to see the monsters, and when it finally goes all out, it truly delivers. It's a great starting point for this now 10-year-old franchise within this 70-year-old franchise that doesn't show any signs of slowing down in any direction. I am beyond thankful for this movie, and the new life it brought back into the Godzilla cinematic landscape. If it weren't for this movie, we likely wouldn't have the now award-winning Godzilla -1. And now we've arrived at the top spot of our Monsterverse ranking, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. When I first saw that SDCC trailer all those years ago, it brought a tear to my eye. I wish I still had that moment because I recorded it, but I deleted it because it was so embarrassing. But I wish I still had it so I could laugh at it now because it was great. I would probably upload it if I could. But what I saw in that trailer was like earlier with Mechagodzilla and Kong and Godzilla teaming up, something I never could have imagined seeing as a younger fan. The thought of Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah on the big screen in a Hollywood production was unheard of at one point. My excitement level skyrocketed to Godzilla Earth-sized proportions. When the movie finally came out, after some of the most exciting buildup I've ever experienced, it hit all the right marks for me. I love the visual style that Mike Dougherty brought to the movie. A very painterly looking movie that feels like it's straight out of the concept art that was designed for. I especially love that Christopher Schei poster from SDCC. The artistry in all of these movies is top notch, but King of the Monsters for me holds the top spot. While the human characters aren't perfect, this human cast is my favorite next to GXK. And the way the Titans are presented and shot is just so beautiful in my opinion. I understand the complaints about the darkness and the weather, but honestly it's never bothered me all that much. And adding to the visuals is the incredible score by Bear McCreary that calls back to the classic Ifukube themes at just the right time. The music alone puts King of the Monsters at a much higher spot than all these entries on the list. Some may say this one feels too much like a fan film, but that may be why I like it so much. It presented Godzilla and his giant friends in a way that I'd always imagined them in my childhood, and it really satisfied my wants as a fan at the time. It understood the monsters in a way that I never expected a Hollywood production to do. It's far from perfect, but like I said, so is every entry. King of the Monsters for now holds a very high number 1 on this list, and will reign supreme for a very long time until a new entry comes along to challenge it. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with what I had to say or you completely disagree. I love reading through all your comments and opinions, and I'm going to feature some of my favorite comments in my upcoming videos. And don't forget to check out some of my more recent, like the video I made about the tone of Godzilla and an analysis of the franchise and its fans. It's been very, very well received, so thank you if you watched that. Plus, I received a mystery box from Playmates Toys. It's not at all what's sitting right here next to me. No. So if you want to see what's inside that box, check out that video. The card's somewhere over here. And be sure to explore my Godzilla playlist, where it features a bunch of videos about the big guy that I've made over the years. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Monsterverse content. And if you want to support this channel, consider using my affiliate link in the description for any of your upcoming collectible purchases. Any purchases you do from those links helps the channel a lot, and it often saves you money. Follow me on all my social media for more exclusive content, which is all linked below. Thank you so much for watching Mike's Monsters. I really appreciate having you here, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.